A lot of hot IPOs have hit the market over the last few months, including ZipRecruiter. How is the staffing company positioned as the economy continues to reopen? Well, joining me now is ZipRecruiter CEO Ian Siegel. Thanks for joining me today, Ian.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So when the company decided to go public in late May of 2021, why did that timing feel right to take ZipRecruiter public?
Well, the pandemic devastated the job market. It was an unprecedented event, at least in my career at ZipRecruiter, and really it was an unprecedented event in the history of the job market. You saw the number of employers hiring and job seeker activity absolutely plummet, and it was a real question mark as to how long this was going to go on. But what we saw was a relatively rapid and steady, resilient recovery amongst employers. However, the job seekers were still reluctant to re-enter the market, even though employers were trying to hire again. But on the strength of those employers continuing to scour the market, looking anywhere they could for talent, our business was able to recover to a place that it was at prior to the pandemic coming, and then even go well beyond that. And when we looked at that, we said there's a real opportunity here to not just be the company we thought we could be, but to be a company that meaningfully impacts how hiring works inside the US hiring market. And so that was a big driver in our decision around IPO timing, because we wanted to make sure that we had every tool in our tool chest available in order to go after the opportunity that we saw.
Now, ZipRecruiter's revenue more than doubled in the most recently reported quarter. So sort of shows you how the economy is getting back on its feet. How does ZipRecruiter plan to keep up that momentum?
Well, it's a really interesting time, like I said, in the job market. First of all, there's 40% more open jobs right now than there were pre-pandemic. And yet job seeker activity, not on ZipRecruiter, but really market-wide, is still 20% below where it was before the pandemic started. And there's a multitude of reasons why this is happening, with the most obvious being COVID. But there's also the side effects of COVID, which is that there was a lot of stimulus money pushed into job seekers' pockets by both state governments and federal governments. So that stimulus was definitely reducing the eagerness and activity amongst job seekers to look for work. And even now, as the stimulus is coming undone and it's coming to an end, they're just cash flush. So they have really large nest eggs and they're not in a hurry. And so when we look at this market and this timing, I'm really excited for the advances that technology are making possible to speed up the hiring process. And that's really been our focus.
Now, what do you think makes ZipRecruiter stand out in the staffing landscape? There are, of course, other job-seeking marketplaces out there. What share of that market does ZipRecruiter currently have? And again, what makes you unique in the marketplace?
Well, the good news for ZipRecruiter is that the hiring market is massive. There's over $200 billion spent every year on some form of recruiting. So some of that's on online job boards, some of that's staffing agencies, some of that's temp agencies. And really, we're still in the single digits of percentages of the number of businesses in America using us, even though there's more than 100,000 businesses using our service every month in order to do their recruiting. And when we look at that, we say, there's a very simple reason why so many companies use us, which is, unlike traditional job sites, we play an active role. We play the role of matchmaker. So we've developed this artificial intelligent technology. We've spent years optimizing it and training it with literally billions of data points. And just every month, it seems to get better. And what it does is it says, hey, business A, you should be talking to job seeker B. It puts them together. And it really changes the way the process works, because instead of job seekers being dropped in front of a search box and told to try and find the right jobs to apply to, those jobs are literally pushed in front of them, curated, if you will, to make it really easy to know which jobs they should be applying to, and for employers to know which job seekers they should be talking to.
And you mentioned the AI capabilities. So when it comes to developing and rolling out new features, give us a sense of the inner workings of the company. How do you go about making sure that you're developing a product roadmap that is going to keep you ahead of the game?
Well, first and foremost, the technology, whether it be machine learning or deep learning or any of the new modern techniques that we're using, in order to do matching. This technology didn't exist really as a generally available solution until roughly 5 to 7 years ago. So it's still relatively new. We jumped on it early. I would say we were on the bleeding edge of utilizing this technology. And the really cool thing about it is that this is software that learns. So the more information it gets fed, the smarter it gets. And it starts to make deductions that no human would ever program a software to do. An example would be that we discovered, we didn't tell it to do this, that when you post a technology position in LA, it shows that job to engineers in New York, because it deduced that LA hiring managers in technology will hire an engineer even if they're from New York, and they'll somehow convince them to come over here. So those are the kinds of benefits that you get. And so when people ask me about innovation, I'm saying there's a method to what we're doing that is novel, that gets smarter over time the more you invest in it. And that is where the bulk of our R&D resources go. So it's not making 10 small bets in 10 different areas of optimization. It's one thing, which is playing the role of an active matchmaker. And we just want to get better and better at that. So both sides of the market are delighted.
And when investors are looking at investing in recent IPOs, profitability is one of the metrics that they are looking at. How does ZipRecruiter think about profitability, and what is it that helps the company sustain that profitability moving forward?
Well, I started ZipRecruiter at my kitchen table 11 years ago, and we actually bootstrapped the business for the first 4.5 years. Got to north of 50 million in revenue with millions of free cash flow before we ever took a single dollar of outside investor money. So we've been real stewards of capital, and I would say professional operators from the very beginning. We take that same ethos into how we operate the business today, which is we want to grow, we want to increase our adjusted EBITDA, but we also want to do it efficiently and thoughtfully. We want to be prepared if another pandemic were to come. It was a real interesting moment for, I think, every business in America, but particularly for us. And so for me, profitability is important. It's something that I anticipate we're going to maintain and in fact grow the margins on the business, as we've stated in our earnings calls. And so I think you can expect to see that that is going to be one of the things that defines us as we go forward.
And when it comes to other goals in the company's first year as a publicly traded company, what would you say those top goals are?
Well, I think we're all, not just ZipRecruiter, but a lot of companies in America are in a dogfight for talent right now. So our vision is really big, and we think we're at the earliest part of it. And we're seeing such marvelous results from the technology that we're deploying to play the role of that active matchmaker in terms of the speed with which job seekers are getting hired, the speed with which employers are able to fill jobs, that we see how ripe an opportunity it is. And we have all the pieces we need. And now what we really need is talent. So we're really recruiting aggressively, trying to capture and corner the market on the people who specialize in this specific discipline, because it is so effective for the job market.
So ZipRecruiter looking to hire in a big way, right. It sounds like.
Correct.
Great. All right, Ian. Well, thank you so much for sharing all the details on all things ZipRecruiter today, and best of luck to you moving forward. And for more coverage of top stocks, notable industry groups, make sure to check out investors.com. For Investors Business Daily, I'm Alissa Coram. Hi there. Thanks so much for watching Investing Strategies on our YouTube channel. If you want more executive interviews and analysis of key trends to watch, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date.